Welcome to Reasonably Catholic. In this season 3, we are looking at the moral teachings of the church. And in this last episode, we are looking at what the church has to say about divorce, remarriage, and annulments. Marriage, also known as matrimony, is a sacrament in the Catholic Church. It is a union of a male to another female in order to come closer to God and is the appropriate venue in which to bear children. Marriage is a sacred covenant between each spouse with the other and with God. Marriage is intended to be a union that lasts until the death of one of the spouses. It is a union that God has brought together and no person is able to dissolve that union. Marriage directly parallels our relationship with God. God is 100% faithful in His relationship with us. Those who choose to get married are called to the same faithfulness. The Catholic Church does not permit divorce for valid sacramental marriages. In fact, a valid sacramental marriage is impossible to dissolve, thereby making divorce not possible if the marriage was sacramental. In marriage, the two become one flesh in a union joined by God. Jesus speaks about divorce. Therefore, what God has joined together, no human being must separate. That's from Mark 10:9. So for a marriage that meets the requirements of being a sacrament, divorce in the Catholic Church is not possible. There are some cases where living together has become too difficult or practically impossible. The Church permits a physical separation of the spouses and living apart, but the two still remain married until an annulment is granted if it's applicable. The Christian community is called to help these persons live out their situation in a Christian manner and infidelity to their marriage bond, which remains indissoluble. That's from Catechism of the Catholic Church, para 1649. The annulment process is by which a marriage is determined whether or not it is valid. It is not a Catholic divorce process. It is found to be invalid, that means not meeting a requirement of a sacramental marriage, then an annulment would be granted. The annulment process is not a Catholic divorce, but rather it is a process that determines if the marriage was ever really a marriage. If at least one criterion for the sacramental marriage was not met, then the marriage can be considered invalid and an annulment will be granted. The annulment process is often long, usually lasting about a year or longer. The people who make up the marriage tribunal for your diocese must perform extensive research in determining if an annulment can be granted. If you receive a civil divorce but no annulment, then you are still married to the other person in the eyes of the Church and would be committing adultery if you married another. Jesus says, whoever divorces his wife and marries another commits adultery against her. And if she divorces her husband and marries another, she commits adultery. If your previous marriage was not annulled and you chose to remarry outside the Catholic Church, then you would be in an adulterous relationship. If done with full knowledge and full consent, then it could be a mortal sin. Remember, though, that every marriage is difficult. Even titanic ups and downs can happen to anyone, and sinfulness is always present in a marriage because the tendency to sin due to selfishness is in every heart. Sin doesn't invalidate a marriage bond. It submits it to a greater pressure, but grace and a firm, faithful commitment to the vows can push it past the breaking point. If that were not true, then God's grace would be useless. He would be impotent, and we know that He is not. The culture will tell you that marriage should make us happy. The Church, a mother who loves us, knows that marriage should make us holy. And that peace of mind, true identity, real security, and lasting happiness, those things we all want, are fruits of holiness. So, was that reasonable? Let us know in the comment section below. That's all we have for this season 3 of Reasonably Catholic. We would like to thank the production team and HSI as a whole for all the work they do in the church. Until the next season, make sure to catch up on all the videos on the HSI YouTube channel. So until the next season, bye.